So is that possible? Can I also see the audience and have a discussion with them? Can you confirm that? All right. So yeah, I don't see any audience, but at least you guys can hear me now. So I'm Jonathan. I work at the Research Hub Foundation in the SciComs group, and basically the Research Hub Foundation is dedicated to accelerating the pace of scientific research through publishing and funding science. Research Hub works like a Reddit for science, and I'm very much dedicated to the mission of decentralizing the publishing process. And I think having such a Reddit style forum is the best way to do it. So I'm really excited to work with them, and it has been a great experience. Very smart, intelligence people there trying to solve the issue of how we decentralize publication. We use a token to reward those who do the work, basically the authors and the peer reviewers. And today I wanted to dedicate the session to the theory of decentralized publishing, because I think the product is good, but what is also important is that we have a theoretical solution of the issue, just like Bitcoin was at first a theoretical solution and then was being applied. So I divided the session into three parts, but somehow this is confusing now because I don't see the audience. So let's go first into the first part, which would be the introduction of my own thinking about this issue, where I would guide you into what I think scientific consensus algorithms can do and should do, and then what is the key problem that we have to overcome. Then the second part was supposed to be a discussion, but since I don't see you, I don't think we can pull that off. And then the third part would be to define some key objectives based on this discussion. But I guess I sort of have to freestyle this, and since you didn't hear me in the beginning, we are probably also going to run out of time. So, yeah, basically, what is the like the reason why we could use blockchain to decentralize scientific publishing? And I think the first intuition that we have when we read the Bitcoin white paper, for example, we understand that there are certain similarities between how blockchains work and what is desirable for scientific publishing. So some of the qualities that blockchains have, like the permissionlessness, the censorship resistance, which makes everything transparent if somebody's tampering with the record, and then lastly, the anonymous character, are really desirable for a scientific system, because we want to be able to say whatever we think is right without it having to be attached to our personal identity, so that can have free speech. And then we don't want anybody to tamper with the record later on and change what has been said. Are you, are you speaking to me, Victor? So, yeah. Then in this, basically, what this allows, these three properties to me, is free speech or anti-dogmatism, so that those who hold the current dogmatic position don't have the power to censor the ones that don't have the position yet. And I think there's a similar mechanism at the bottom of what is scientific publishing and what is blockchain. So in a blockchain, we start off with a bunch of unconfirmed transactions, and then we order them into blocks to come to a consensus on where what money is at what time. And in the scientific record, we have a lot of preprints or unconfirmed papers, so to say, and then we order them into journals, which bring them out in sort of like a block every so and so often. And I think that this parallel can be abused and used to actually keep track of the scientific consensus at any given time. And the problem here, though, is how do we come to a consensus? So basically, how do we trans- validate transactions? How do we decide what goes into the journal? And what are the incentives for us to stay aligned on the scientific mission and keep the blockchain alive, so to say. Yeah. So initially, my thoughts were to have a discussion with you guys about this. Now we don't really have that opportunity because I don't have an option to see an audience and a stage. So I was going to take notes during this discussion, but I don't think we're going to have a discussion. So I'm a bit lost here. But I will just take you through my thinking on it. Okay. So basically, I think the questions that we have to raise here are how could transactions be confirmed? Classically, this has been done through peer review. One way to do this would be to have peer reviewers assess papers and put all of this on the blockchain, give them a pseudonymous identity with a public key and a private key, where they can affirm that they have reviewed it without revealing their own identity. That's one way to think of it. Another way to think of transactions as being actually confirmed is if there has been a replication of the study that was published. And another one would be crowd voting, where you could have an upvote, downvote sort of system to decide what is actually valuable content and what is less valuable content. And here we could have opened the stage and talked about multiple alternatives and how to pull them off, or what are the benefits of each one. But since we cannot do this, I will just move on and talk about the next question, which is what goes into a block. So we might have valid transactions, papers that have scientific merit and are solid theoretically, but then there might be different, or not theoretically, but let's say empirically, but there might be different interpretations of the same data. So we have experiments in quantum physics, and then we have to interpret them. And in the Copenhagen interpretation, we don't have many worlds, but in the many worlds interpretation, we have many worlds. So there is a way of coming to different opinions based on the same data. And in the block, we would have to kind of be able to disagree. So the consensus would not be a unified consensus where everybody thinks the same based on the same data, but actually we still have the possibility of differences in opinion. And I was curious to explore here the issues that are at stake and how this could be done. Only without an audience, this is not really going to be possible. And then the next thing I think is important are the incentives, because the parallel to the blockchain is if you have the unconfirmed transactions, those which put them into the block, so that these are the peer reviewers and the editors of journals, they should be rewarded, and they basically need to carry the responsibility of keeping the content honest. So the question would be, how should rewards work? Like, should an editor be rewarded more than a peer reviewer who only reviewed a single paper? Should we get rid of the editor function completely and just have the peer reviewer? Those are interesting questions. And the next one would be, who is paying? So basically, in Bitcoin, nobody's really paying. The money just comes out of nowhere, basically. And it has value because you can share it between each other. Is this something that we could implement in the scientific publishing world too, where it's sort of like basically like a gas fee to get your paper reviewed and enter into the scientific consensus, so that basically those which the authors are paying to get into the chain, just like they are now with the journals? Or should the audience pay for reading it, which would go against principles of open access? So I thought there would be interesting conflicting uh, yeah, values here, or goals that we could have debated. Now I don't think we are going to do this, so let's move on. I I think defining the key objectives would have been fun, but it's not going to be possible now. So I will just say what I think is the most important one, and I think the most important one is really to have basically have free speech. Sorry, this I think is the key to allow scientists to speak their mind and not end up confirming to what is politically correct. I think this is my most valuable and most important quality. I'll just keep it to that, since this is a sort of a freestyle and I have to deal with this now. Then, if you have made it so far, thank you actually for dealing with this on the fly approach. And then let's round it off. Basically, this is how we do it on Research Hub. We are using crowd voting to surface interesting papers to the top, and the community can decide through their upvotes. Basically, every individual can give credit to a paper and say that they think this is an important paper that should surface to the top and be read also by others. And you can also downvote it if you disagree. And through this mechanism, we can surface interesting literature to the top more quickly. People can review preprints and share them. And we have bounty mechanisms to incentivize people to review papers. You can ask questions through the bounty mechanism. And this is pretty much what we do. And I would encourage you guys to check it out if you're interested in decentralized publishing. Take a look. And even if you're not interested in solving the issue, if you're just interested in reading good literature, this is a way to find interesting papers quickly, share your own thoughts, and connect with other researchers in your domain, and even across domains. So then basically you can follow us. You can come to our Discord if you're interested in solving the same issues of decentralized publishing and help us out. You can go to Research Hub website. You can go to the foundation website if you like. Follow the foundation on Twitter. Follow Research Hub on Twitter. I'll give you a minute to scan the codes and just take your time with this. Meanwhile, I can see if anything actually is there in the chat for me, but it doesn't look like it is. So take another 10, 15 seconds, and then I move on to the next slide. All right. In case you
bunch of decentralized everything. Right. All right, I think I'm coming up here on the next stage. Don't have a signal on my end. There I am. Cool. Let's get this going here. I think I should have a little bit more fun on this background. There we go. All right. Welcome, everyone, to my session here in the Publisher Parish stage. My name is Elijah Spina. I'm a PhD molecular biologist, co-founder of BanklessDeSci. I hope you caught the opening remarks earlier, and I apologize about any tech issues we're having getting things off the ground here. It's a bit of a complicated endeavor having 4 live streams at the same time, but we're making it work. One of the fun challenges of doing things decentralized, especially with 4 stages in decentralizing our efforts. But in this session, I want to dive into the concept of using Web3 tools and ultimately Web3 social really as sort of like the consumer-facing evolution of some Web3 tech, and see how we can dissect that and pull out different features, aspects of Web3, particularly Web3 social media, that can influence or potentially have a big impact on scientific publishing. So I'm going to pull up my Miro board, and I think maybe Anna also did me the favor of sharing that in the chat. Yes, thank you, Anna. Cool, awesome. I see some people hopping in here on the Miro board. Perfect. Let me share my screen. Get that up here. And so I want to do a brainstorm session where we go through and brainstorm different features of Web3 social that we think could impact scientific publishing. And then in the last couple minutes of the session, we will vote on which ones we think are most interesting or going to be most impactful. Cool. Let me just make sure this is looking good here. I think there's a small lag that I'm seeing on part of the stream. And my screen should be shared here momentarily. There we go. Okay. All right, so I've got my Miro board up here on the live stream. Thank you for everyone for hopping in here. Oh, didn't want to unlock that. So this is going to be our main idea board. And let's just zoom in here. So this is going to be where we put down different features of Web3 social media, and I'll show some examples right now too before we hop in here. But in these different sticky notes, we can go ahead and type each different feature, and then at the end, we'll get some dots, and we can drag the dots over to the sticky notes to vote for which features we think are going to be most impactful on scientific publishing as a whole, right? We all know that it takes a long time to get a scientific article published, not just to do the research, but once you send it out to a publisher to get through the peer reviews, to go through additional experiments, just waiting for those comments can often take upwards of a year to get something published. And so there's been some ideas about decentralizing peer review, right? We all know about archive and preprint servers where people can put things out early. And I think Web3 social really plays along those lines. So let's dive in here to these Web3 social platform examples over here on the right. And so on the left, I've listed a couple popular Web3 social media platforms. It's Lens Protocol, Farcaster, Near Social, and OpenCAN Network, which is my personal project, which is built on top of Near Social. So let's take a quick look at a few of those. And feel free to just peruse these as we're going through this workshop. I'll pop these open here. So Lens Protocol, it's looked pretty similar to Twitter. I should have had the page open here before we got started. But once you're scrolling through, you can claim your handle. You own all of your posts. You can take them with you to different sites that are built on top of Lens. So they've got like a Twitter version. They've got like a YouTube. They've got these different things. And so when you post there, you own that content, right? It's not Facebook or Twitter that owns your content, your profile. You own it. You take it with you. And there's things like, some of these are using NFTs in the background to let you own your posts as an NFT and things like that. There's Farcaster, which is another popular sort of Twitter style app. And yeah, so these are sort of things where when you post, you can track back who posted what to their wallet. right? So you don't just spin up a email address and a new Twitter handle. You can actually verify your identity. These things like Paragraph and Mirror for blogging. And then there's tools like Dune Analytics, which really, I think, open up the transparency side of this, where we can go ahead and just create a little dashboard and look at the analytics for these on-chain activities, right? So if we wanted to look up one particular user's on-chain activity over time, or if we wanted to look up activity on Paragraph or Mirror and see all the blogs that are posted, or, and especially once we can dive down into categories like particular subfields of science, right? And see the analytics there for different papers that are published, number of comments. So yeah, let's take a look at the YouTube chat here, make sure I'm not missing any discussions. Should I open that up in another window so I don't lose everyone here? Feel free to drop some ideas. Let's go ahead. Yeah, see visiting trailblazers around here. I've also put out here in meme land other fun ideas to get your brain juices flowing about things that maybe are not good about academic publishing, traditional publishing, right? This concept of publish or perish. I think, how can we get past that so that we can thrive, right? How can we use these tools to fix some of these issues with academic and traditional publishing that cause us to have these statements like publish or perish, right? That, this is a problem with academia in general. So I'll throw a couple on the board here. Publishing takes a long time. Actually, and so Web3 Social, a feature of that would be that we can have faster time to publish. That's a feature of Web3 Social. And so we're a few minutes in here. I want to just start throwing some ideas up on the board, and then we'll throw in the voting session at the end. Check those comments again. Verifiable, yeah. Okay. Let's see, what else can you throw in there? So verifiable credentials, yeah, that's a deep topic too. Let's see, check the chat. Oh, let's see, Meredith doesn't have a link to the Miro board. Let me go ahead and share that. Here. Yeah, retroactive funding, faster time to publish. Let's see. Sounds like we've got somebody's mic off here. Okay, cool. Throwing some ideas up. Let's zoom in on that here. like where this is going. Cool. Mm-hmm. I'm actually going to throw things on the board that could potentially be negatives. But if we get lots of non-experts review, could be bad, could be good. Depends if you think the wisdom of the crowd is good. Just make sure we are staying on time here. Head back to meme land, see if I can get some inspiration. Takes a long time. It's going to destroy the planet. Academic publishing. Probably not that bad. Quantity over quality. We started 14 minutes ago. Okay, I'll give this another minute or two for ideas, and then I'll start up the voting session. Return number 2 doesn't exist. I don't know if there's always this joke, this meme that goes around about reviewer 2 being the worst reviewer. You usually get 3 reviewers on an academic paper. Reviewer number 2 is always the difficult one. You don't get review number 2 when there's decentralized review. All right, cool. I think we're heading into the last couple minutes of the session here. Feel free to drop any last minute ideas on there. I'm going to go ahead and get this voting started here. Actually, we're not going to use the voting dots that I have there on the board. I'm going to go ahead and activate this voting feature, which is a little fancier. So we'll select our area. We'll have, it was 3 minutes to vote, and we'll have a minute or 2 at the end to discuss. 1 vote per, you can vote as many times as you want per object. Everyone will get 5 votes each. And so, yeah, go ahead and pick the 5 things or 1 thing that you want to vote on 5 times, and we'll see what we all want. So you should be able to click join voting there if you're on the Miro whiteboard. See that popping up on the live stream. I hope everyone else sees that. Okay, so I'm going to join the voting. All right, 0 of 3 voted. Sorry, I'm just responding to some messages here as well about the next sessions. I think we're good though. I'm going to vote for reviewer 2 doesn't exist. Think through knowledge. I really like the concept of streaming payments. I didn't get it at first, but I think it's actually really cool. And definitely retroactive funding. And if I'm going to go with retroactive funding, I got to pick something in reputation. Attestations. Okay, we've got 1 minute of voting left. 3 of 4 people have voted. Maybe I'm the last one. We'll see. That's going to continue on for the next minute or so. I'll just wrap that up. Okay, and then I know I'm just going to make a quick PSA. I know we did start a little bit late for the breakout rooms, and so we're going to be pushing back a little bit, maybe trying to shave off a little bit of time here and there if we can. I'm going to be coordinating with the other session leaders here in a moment once I hop off this session, but yeah, we're going to push back and try and get everybody in. Hopefully we don't have to skip anybody or miss any sessions. I think we can still get everyone in. But yeah, just want to make sure we don't miss out on any awesome sessions that are planned here. So looks like this is about to finish. I hope it should give us the results. Oh, there we go. And here we go. Okay, so the top voted idea, streaming networks. That is potentially the most impactful feature of Web3 social media that could disrupt scientific publishing. Also traceability of contributions, faster time to review. Yeah, right. You're not going to perish while you're waiting to publish. retroactive funding for sure. Zero knowledge, P2P. It looked like we all kind of picked some of the similar ones. Other ones with one vote, yeah, faster time to publish, direct funding, impact certificates. Cool. All right. Well, I hope this was a inspiring and intriguing and fun exercise to sort of work through. And we can definitely go through and do another more thorough one of these maybe some other time in BanklessDeSci. But yeah, appreciate you all coming to my session. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it there, cut my screen share, and I will see you at the other sessions. Thanks so much for coming.
Olá. Você está falando comigo? Fala novamente, eu não entendi. Tudo bom? Não. Eu posso começar quando eu quiser? Deixa, eu tenho slides para apresentar, I have slides. So let me put them on and I'll be ready, okay? Just a second. So can I share my screen and then start? Oh, it says that I don't have permission to capture my screen. Oh, Jesus. System preference, security and privacy. Yeah. Security and privacy. No, I have to go to my system references. Wait. And then what? Click on the lock, screen recording. Oh, my Google Chrome, it's on, so. What is it now? let's go again. New recording. Make sure that the speech, new recording, one second. Okay. I have to quit and reopen, okay? I'll do it all over again. I have another note here. It says Mac OS doesn't support sharing system sound while sharing entire screen. Okay, I'll have to go back and share just a time. It doesn't support. Oh, Jesus. What can it be? To share audio, share a tab instead. How am I going to open my slides? They are an Acrobat. Can I send them to you? What shall I do? How can I send them? How can I send them to you? Okay.
conversei com ela, amiga, não foi pelo Airbnb não, tá bom? Aí ela me pediu, amor, pra me ver alguém que possa arrumar pra ela e mandar pra ela. Eu falei, não, vou mandar assim, porque ficou muito feio.
Sí, ¿me permiten? Todo bien, gracias. Con mucho trabajo, pero bien. ¿Ya la pueden ver? Me dicen cuando tenga luz verde para empezar. Sí, si quieren la pongo, como me digan. Ahí estoy. Me dicen cuando estemos listos para empezar. Ok. GM. Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo están todos? Muy probablemente no tienen ningún problema en sus audífonos, no está pasando nada extraño en el mundo, pero decidimos tener dentro de las presentaciones de nuestro Unconference una presentación en español porque creemos que es importante que nuestra comunidad hispana también esté enterada de lo que está pasando dentro del universo de ciencia descentralizada. Entonces, esta es una presentación que básicamente la recorté de una presentación un poco más profunda que di en el DeSci Day en una ocasión, prácticamente hace un año. Y me voy a centrar específicamente en lo que considero que es un problema no resuelto a la publicación científica. Entonces, sin más, le agradezco mucho a todas las personas que me invitaron a estar el día de hoy y pues no hay ningún problema si me hacen alguna pregunta en español, en inglés. Espero tener la capacidad científica de poderla responder. ¿Ok? Muy bien. Entonces, actualmente es maravilloso que tenemos aplicaciones actuales para poder llevar a cabo pues toda la información que tenemos dentro del ecosistema. O sea, hay muchísimas aplicaciones al día de hoy que nos permiten entender cómo está funcionando la medicina. Ustedes pueden ver en la imagen de su lado derecho, en el lado superior derecho, cuando empezó la época de COVID-19, estábamos en búsqueda de tener medicamentos que tuvieran una muy alta eficacia para inhibir el germen este o el bicho este. Y se creó por medio de inteligencia artificial la sensibilidad de la molécula, o sea, de cómo una molécula podía inhibir, destruir o en este momento tener esa capacidad de poder bloquear la respuesta inmunológica y la respuesta vírica, pues que se estaba produciendo. Esto se encontró por inteligencia artificial, de ahí que teníamos listas interminables de medicamentos que pudieran funcionar para este tipo de padecimientos. Además, tenemos ahora, por ejemplo, que existen nuevas herramientas que por inteligencia artificial también detectan si una lesión es maligna o no es maligna. Entonces, esto no nos va a sustituir en ningún momento a un dermatólogo, no le va a quitar el trabajo a nadie, pero va a permitir que cualquiera de nosotros tengamos la capacidad de tomar una imagen a una lesión y tener una atención temprana. Y de ahora que tenemos que este algoritmo, al ser entrenado, va a tener la facilidad de poder encontrar un padecimiento que pues a todos nos aterra, que en algún momento escuchamos la palabra cáncer y nos da cierto temor. Y también por estas mismas herramientas tecnológicas podemos detectar ahora nuevas células epiteliales a nivel pulmonar que tienen una diferenciación muy compleja y que permiten cambiar esta idea y esta estructura de cómo funciona el pulmón. Entonces, estas herramientas las tenemos disponibles, pero el principal problema de estas aplicaciones actuales es que son pagadas. Entonces, desde ahí empieza nuestro problema. Esta necesidad de publicación científica que al final termina siendo centralizada y que no vamos a poder obtener todas las personas que nosotros queramos. Además, creo que el conocimiento científico ha sido un problema evolutivo, es decir, las empresas tradicionales Web 2 meramente nos han generado esta misma herramienta de suscripciones, ¿no? Actualmente nosotros estamos basados al día de hoy
en tener que publicar en revistas científicas, que no solamente es difícil entrar en la parte económica, sino además, si no eres de una universidad reconocida, si no eres incluso varón, no vas a tener esta oportunidad de publicar. Entonces, esto genera que muchos de nuestras colegas y muchos de nuestros colegas en regiones de Latinoamérica no tengan acceso a publicaciones científicas en revistas de muy alto reconocimiento. Entonces, esto genera también una barrera muy importante para que nosotros no podamos como que abstraer esa información, para que las personas que revisan los artículos científicos tengan sin ningún prejuicio esa posibilidad de llevar a cabo una investigación apropiada, o es decir, una apropiación individual de lo que en ese momento se está revisando. Entonces, es muy importante que también conozcamos que las revistas científicas no es que sean malas, pero terminan siendo un negocio. Y algo que queremos romper es esos negocios, no destruirlos, sino hacerlos evolutivos y que todas las personas puedan al día de hoy tener ese beneficio de poder participar. Ahora sabemos que mucho de lo que nosotros tenemos es que como que la medicina al final es una tecnología, pero también vamos perdiendo escena conforme el tiempo va pasando. Inicialmente todas estas divulgaciones científicas eran como lo que estamos viviendo hoy en ciencia centralizada. Tal vez no enteramente como cadenas de correos electrónicos, sino ahora son telegrams, ahora son posts dentro de VitaDAO o incluso ahora dentro de BanklessDAO, que vamos a tener una herramienta para nosotros poder platicar. Al principio solamente eran personas que estaban interesadas y se suscribían, pero después cambia este modelo de negocio cuando ya no es sustentable como que mantener económicamente. Tenemos que empezar a pagar, ¿no?, por estas suscripciones para que las revistas se mantengan activas. Entonces, ahí se volvió un problema porque también la barra de inicio para que nosotros podamos acceder a la información científica termina siendo alta. Si no tienes el dinero para pagar una suscripción mensual de $50 para una revista, pues no te vas a enterar como que de las cosas más nuevas que existen dentro del ecosistema del cual cualquiera de nosotros esté dentro, ¿no? Y de ahí nacen las revistas abiertas, más o menos por ahí del 2006, 2007, con un boom en 2008, pero empezaron a ser otra vez centralizadas. Nacieron con una muy buena idea por el crecimiento acelerado de esta información, pero después, como vamos a ver en la siguiente imagen, empieza la evolución científica brutal, pero nos vamos dando cuenta que ahora empiezan a haber como que también ciertas suscripciones dentro de las revistas abiertas. Sí, categorías de bronce, categorías de oro, categorías verdes, en las cuales nos damos cuenta que, por ejemplo, en química, casi el 80% de la publicación científica se queda oculta, es decir, no sale a la luz. Ajá, entonces ahora vemos que, por ejemplo, para investigación médica o investigación biomédica, tenemos una barra también muy alta para poderla pagar. Entonces, ¿qué está pasando? Que esta información no está llegando a las personas que se necesitan. Ahorita Twitter es una herramienta increíble porque nos permite al día de hoy tener un contacto directo con las publicaciones científicas en ese momento. Tal vez no tienes acceso al paper, pero tienes un micro resumen que alguno de nosotros hizo o alguna persona que es reconocida dentro de la disciplina, te va contestando y te va respondiendo esto. Entonces esto lo hace muy rico, muy bonito y muy interesante, pero empieza otra vez la realidad absoluta de lo que estamos viviendo el día de hoy. Estamos ante un ecosistema fallido, dado que las open journals, o lo que conocemos actualmente como revistas abiertas, empiezan a ser una barrera también muy alta para que nuestros científicos tengan la capacidad de publicar. Revistas como Spark empiezan a tener suscripciones de $7,765, el Open Access de Nature 9,500 euros para poder publicar, y en Latinoamérica nos están cobrando aproximadamente $1,500 por publicarnos un artículo. Entonces, esta barrera, si bien ahora no solamente es por dónde vienes, quién eres, quién te respalda, sino ahora también el bloque económico que no nos permite publicar. Y por un lado se entiende que necesitan poner estos bloques para que no llegue como que una publicación que no deberíamos de tener. Pero ¿qué pasa cuando la información que nosotros queremos dar a conocer es súper relevante, como lo de las vacunas o como lo de medicamentos, o si yo quiero compartir un algoritmo que acabo de encontrar para, no sé, para encontrar alteraciones articulares en pacientes? No lo voy a poder hacer si no tengo las herramientas económicas para poderme subir al tren de las publicaciones científicas. Y de ahí viene ahora otra situación. ¿Cómo podemos nosotros mejorar esto? Hay varias personas que están dentro de estas sesiones que están creando aplicaciones por las cuales ya se está empezando a generar un cambio absoluto. están los nodos científicos en los cuales nosotros podemos empezar a compartir nuestros artículos, pero el día al día nosotros ya podemos acceder a esta información. Por ejemplo, aplicaciones de seguimiento farmacológico. En lo personal yo utilizo Prescripto, y Prescripto además tiene un algoritmo de inteligencia artificial para buscar si hay interacciones farmacológicas. Entonces, estas herramientas son innovadoras y nos permiten también tener esta manera de generar mayor conocimiento y un mejor tratamiento. Ahora, imagínense ustedes que hay un listado de donación de órganos en la cual un político o una persona no se lo pueda saltar, y que esta lista esté pública e inmutable. Entonces, que no haya como que este compañerismo o amiguismo para saltarnos estas situaciones. Y tener ahora para nosotros expedientes clínicos con conocimiento cero, es decir, por ejemplo, utilizando Aster, con este caso Starknet, que nos permitirían ahora sí nosotros poder tener un expediente clínico en el cual nuestro paciente siempre tenga esa privacidad. Y de ahí que el conocimiento se vuelva un bien público. Para nosotros, tal vez lo que hacemos en ciencia centralizada, no solamente hablar de datos, sino también de conocimiento, de lo que nosotros podemos compartir. Y empezar a utilizar herramientas como Filecoin, como Airwave, o lo que nosotros queramos. Al final esto es en donde tú quieras poner tu changarro, el poder entregar herramientas lo suficientemente volátiles para que cualquier persona las pueda utilizar. Y bien, entonces estoy por ahí, creo que en tiempo. No sé si alguien quiera tener alguna pregunta. Hola, hola. Does anyone has any question? Yes, I can hear you. Mhm. Yes. No, I don't think so that we are like very few countries. Maybe in Mexico we are paying like in pesos, like 17,000 pesos. It's like 30 3,000 or 4,000 US dollars to make a publication inside a medical journal, and this is only for reviewing. Yes. Mhm. Maybe we are like, I'm a little biased because our publications are in medicine, so I don't know. Yes, I know, and that's, I think this is the problem that we are having, that it's like a business. So we are in inside a business, and we have to eat that fees, and also they are like doing everything inside the centralized publication team, right? We are not having anything for that. I'm actually a personal reviewer for clinical rheumatology, that it's an international medicine journal, and I don't get anything just for reviewing. I mean, I love to do it because I think that we have like this peer-to-peer love between doctors and between scientists, that okay, I can do it because I know that someday you are going to do it. But the clinical journal, it's actually getting some revenue for that we are doing for free. We do it for from our hearts, but they got some fees. So I think that someday we can just get those fees for the community, not for us, for all the community, just to keep this type of publications like free, and make like this side hub, but not not illegal, just to be like in the more legal pathway. with just like, I don't know, I was thinking like a sequencer or something like that, just to get more more revenue just for the, also the doctors, or like something like meritocracy or something like that, just to being like more recognized, not for what you do but what you are trying to give to the other, to the other people. Mhm. Mhm. Yes, yes, of course. I have another question. How we can solve the problem about the sexual discrimination or the gender discrimination in our authors? I think when we review an article, sometimes we don't know in which university or in which or who like published that. So maybe this is a way in which we can just like try to get like a better approach to the article. But maybe if we just have like these set of knowledge proofs to don't know anything about the project, I mean, if anyone can publish something that has a very high value, maybe we can just get to the information and just forget everything. Okay, if I have like a set of knowledge proof that an author that has like all the credentials, I mean, for me it's like an rheumatologist that has like this type of knowledge about lupus, but I'm from Mexico and I'm from the Autónoma University in Mexico, right? So from the UNAM. For some certain countries in the world, maybe it's not enough. But if I have a set of knowledge proof that gives me the power that I have a degree and I have the knowledge, and when I get something published, maybe I can just bypass or superpass that trouble. So maybe I'm a little crazy in this, but maybe the zero knowledge proofs for just at the stage to make attestations that the credentials are okay. So maybe just zero knowledge is the future for this. Any other question? It's very exciting to talk about it, because actually I'm in a medical meeting that it's that has all the problems that I'm actually trying to destroy. Mhm. There is a little phrase that I heard a lot, that that says that if you want to make something different, you have to destroy it and made it again. We're not going to destroy medical journals. It's because it sounds like that, but maybe it's more related to evolve the knowledge or the way that we are doing. So mhm, mhm. Yes. Yes, just evolution. Okay. No, 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 it's okay. I don't know if we have another questions. I can see it in the private chat, so maybe I can give you the stage.
So am I on stage now? The only thing is for my presentation, should I put it on first? Hi, everybody. I think I'm live. I haven't figured out putting on my presentation, but I should be able to do it soon. Thank you so much for the BanklessDeSci conference having me. Someone's mic is on, not mine. Oh, can you hear me? Okay, so I am going to just choose which screen to share. Sorry, 2 seconds. Just 2 seconds. I'm gonna. Okay, so can everybody see the presentation there? I can't tell if you can see the. Can somebody let me know if your the presentation is on? Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry, it's not even my desktop, and then it's a new platform for me, but thank you so much for having me. And today I'm going to talk about how to bring the next wave of Web3 users through DeSci. A little bit about myself. Sorry, this is how the presentation is happening, but my name is Laura Minquini, and I am the core lead of Athena DAO. I am actually not a scientist. I started my career in something completely different in fashion and luxury. So the first message about decentralized science is that you actually don't have to be a scientist to be working in decentralized science. Our movement is focused on being the decentralized community-driven platform enable translational women's health research, education, and funding. We believe that more R&D is going to lead to more clinical data. More clinical data is going to lead to more investments, which will lead to more therapeutics and eventually to new treatments and options for women. They asked me to make the presentation interactive, so I think other people got other options in terms of the interactive part, but I am going to make you think a bit about what you know about women's health or you don't know. So take a guess at how much of the NIH budget goes to fertility research. 50, 20, 10%? Well, I'm going to tell you that only 10% goes into female-specific condition, and of that, only about 10% goes into actual fertility research, even though sometimes we're told that fertility is like a really big market and it's already saturated. When it comes to longevity startup funding, you have all heard a lot about VitaDAO and how they're working on longevity. What do you think gets the most funding? DNA repair, pets, or reproductive health? If you thought DNA repair, you're right. Reproductive health, which is something that we work on, is one of the second last and before and after pets. So even our animals get more funding than women's health. When you talk about market opportunity, what do you think is the market opportunity for menopause? $500 million, $10 billion, or $600 billion? If you thought $600 billion, you got it right. It is a massive market opportunity. Half of the world's population will go through menopause. Not everybody's going to have children, but everybody's going to have menopause who has a reproductive life cycle. So with that said, it is insane that we're actually spending so much little in female-specific research. Here is, as I mentioned earlier, the problem. The NIH budget is $45 billion. 4.6 billion are actually done through women's health, goes through women's health funding, and the fertility funding only gets 189 million. That's insane because fertility is basically the way in which everybody affects everybody, considering that that's how you are going to be able to have children, whether you're a man or you're a woman. I already mentioned the longevity funding. This is one of our more popular memes that we talk about in terms of communication. We show how I have a pet, love pets, but it's crazy that half of the world's population is so underserved when it comes to even startup funding. You already got the $600 billion menopause opportunity, and these are figures that we took from, obviously, places like the New York Times. So with that said, we're here for the solutions and what decentralized science can do. And Athena DAO, as a decentralized autonomous organization, has the opportunity to work with different stakeholders at different times. A DAO is a very powerful tool to work on traditionally overlooked areas of research. It brings the researchers, the blockchain, the funders, and the community together through one network. Obviously, the blockchain is the ecosystem, the technology that powers it, but it is the scientists, the patients or community, and the people that want to actually push this forward that make the difference in all of this. With a DAO, you could work on different areas of research, and we chose women's health. But women's health is very big. So we're doing everything in a very staggered approach by cohort. Our initial target areas that we work on were actually the areas that are the least funded in women's health research. So I had already mentioned menopause, which is crazy because all women are going to go through it. But we already did a call for submissions for ovarian aging, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and endometriosis. We already have 2 intellectual IP NFTs and the ovarian aging, which impacts fertility and menopause. You can actually go to our link tree or our website to find more information about these research projects and about the research, what the researchers are working on them. We also are evaluating right now 5 projects in senior review in PCOS and endometriosis, which we'll announce in January 2024 and will be put up for voting through our community. Our goal is to go through various areas of research in women's health, and eventually, in the future, why not do something like open source the artificial womb? So you know a little bit more about us. We already have an ATH token, and we just recently listed 2 IP NFTs, 35 active contributors. We count people that do 5 to 10 hours a week as active contributors, and 5,000 plus active members across all social media channels, plus have done a lot within the DeSci community and in academia and other areas. We also are going to be announcing a stealth company in the new year. But what I want to talk to you today about is how we're going to get the next wave of Web3 users onboarded into DeSci. Obviously, at Athena DAO, we're a bit biased and we really believe in women, that it's so important to include them in this new ecosystem. And we're really focused on bringing the women on board, the researchers, the patients, the women interested in crypto, anyone that is interested in women's health. And we call this Welcome to the Girl Economy. So as first example, we're going to talk about our auction, which happened this September 5th. We actually hit our target and went over it by $116,000, which we were very happy about. So take a guess what percentage of the bids were under 1,000. And why do I ask this? Because it shows that most of the people that bid on our auction were people that were just interested in what we're doing, not necessarily the whales, not necessarily the big funders. So if you guess 24%, you're close, but no. The community interest on Athena DAO and the most bids were under 1,000 was 87 bids. We exceeded expectation in many ways, and we're very excited about this because it means that we were able to bring more women into the space and new people into Web3 and decentralized science, and not just scientists, but patients and also clinicians and women that are interested in learning more about their health. So how do we do this? A lot of education. We worked a lot on education models, info sessions, one-on-one hour sessions, in-person community events, and memes. We are onboarding the new wave of Web3 users. And when I say the new wave, it includes a lot of women. We are trying to get a lot of this segment and demographic into Web3 and specifically decentralized science. So communication is a big part of it, working with all the Web3 groups, really going out there and actually explaining why decentralized science is not just for scientists, not just for clinicians, and not just for people in biotech. You'll be surprised to learn how many people are interested in the space if you take the time to actually educate them and meet them where they are at. We obviously, one of the big things that we do is the communication of the impact of science and what we're doing. So as our public goods, we talk about the providing services like a reproductive health report, which next year is going to be called the Women's Health Report because we're going into other areas beyond reproduction. So we already published one of them, which luckily enough, we were funded by the Gitcoin grant. Our first reproductive health report was in ovarian aging. The second one was in endometriosis and PCOS. And the next year is going to be amazing because it's going to be about actually providing very useful information, not just reading about the science. For those who are curious about where we're going with Athena DAO and why we think that the onboarding of the next wave of 3 users is going to be women, they need to read our white paper and think they need to look at the stats, at demographics, at how women pretty much almost run a lot of economies. And what do I mean by that? The richest man in the world between Elon and Jeff Bezos is Bernard Arnault, which sells luxury. And who buys luxury? It's mostly women. The richest woman in the world is the granddaughter of the creator of L'Oreal. And what does L'Oreal sell? Beauty. Just to contextualize things, 80% of the healthcare decisions at home are made by women. And if you deliver to women, they will be your best customers. We just have not made science work for women the way it should. So where we're going with Athena DAO, we are launching our first IPT in the new year when one of our IP NFTs meets its milestones. We are also having you can actually apply as we have a reverse pitch competition, which is kind of like a reverse hackathon. We provide the science and the great entrepreneur comes and creates a company. It's a great exercise for anyone who wants to try entrepreneurship. You can choose to actually launch the company, but if not, you can just win a trip to our actually Women's Health Summit that is happening this spring. And we'll be announcing the location between London, Lisbon, and Athens very soon as well. And we're also going to be doing our first crowdsourced fertility planning study. So we have a lot of things happening in the new year for Athena DAO. And the most important part is that we do believe that a lot of it is going to happen by the strength of our community, which is mostly made of women. And we're very excited about that. But we also welcome the men because we have a lot of great members in our community. Just so you learn about a bit more, I went into why we think that the next wave of Web3 users is going to be not the usual crowd, but completely different new users. Our team consists of myself, Ines Santos Silva, Maria Marinova, who also is part of Vida DAO. It shows how interesting the decentralized science working groups are because you can actually participate in many DAOs. And Stefano Pinilla, who's also a Vida DAO alumni. The most important part is that we come with amazing people across different expertise who come and give their advice when they can and when they are available. But that's the interesting part is that they can be doing their own jobs. They can be in academia. They can also have startups. They can be in other DAOs. And you can come contribute at the point that you are needed or that you are available. I guess I want to leave this before I open the room to questions to the idea that what we're working on is very early on. Decentralized science is actually a new experiment. It's been, I think, 2.5 years, almost 3 years since Vida DAO launched the first Bio DAO. And I know that a lot of people here, even in this conference, are working on amazing tooling ideas. But what's very exciting about decentralized science is that we're all experimenting. And we like to say that Athena DAO is like the OpenAI of women's health. We are where like 7 years ago OpenAI was when they started. Where women's health is such a big canvas that there are so many opportunities where we can go beyond the intellectual property NFTs and all the other things that are powered by the blockchain. So my invitation here today is to think outside the box, to think that there are so many people out there that don't know about decentralized science. We at Athena DAO are going to focus on really bringing a lot of new users into Web3 because we believe in the power of what women can do when they like something. And when women realize that women's health is underfunded or under research, I think it's going to really change the dynamic and the conversation. And for the record, you don't have to be a woman to join Athena DAO. You also don't have to be a scientist or a patient. You can bring whatever expertise, any ideas you have in tooling, anything that you're building in the future, we welcome into our community. Anybody that's interested to learn more about what the world looks like with more women's health research, please join us. there's our Discord, and I invite you to look on our socials at Athena DAO. Look at our website, join us now. It's very early days, and we are very excited about where we're going with everything. So I'm going to stop sharing, and then I think it's going to take me back to the screen, I hope. Oh. Can you guys hear me or see me? Okay, well, I can't take the screen now that I'm on, but okay.
Yes, there is a question. After my short browsing of Google for DAOs, I found several.
Sorry, can you repeat your question? I'm not sure your question is addressed to me about why not that. Is it? Are you talking about Athena DAO, something we're doing? Yeah, why there isn't mathematics? I mean, the amazing thing about decentralized science is that it's actually it's permissionless, so you can start that DAO. It's completely up to you. So the way we work is by cohort, Maria, because as I mentioned, women's health is so vast. It would be hard to say we can just look at projects in women's health all the time. It would just wouldn't be efficient. So the way we do it is by cohort. It's we did, as I said, ovarian aging. The second cohort was PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, and endometriosis, and we're going into oncology, rare cancers, or underfunded cancers, which we discovered uterine cancer is very underfunded, even though it impacts a lot of women as well. And the way we do it is by 4 to 5 month sprints. So we do the call for submission, give it about a month. We give it out about another month and a half of evaluation between the deal flow team. Then another month to go out to senior review, and the last month of negotiation. So it's a 4 to 5 month window of sprint touching different areas of research. And the reason we do that is because we want to make sure that we look at the science, like we actually are completely dedicated to that area of research. So we know the experts, we understand where the science is at, and we can evaluate better. The only way DAOs are going to succeed is if we obviously do get something to licensing a company, or obviously it comes into actual at therapeutic. And the way to try to get to that the fastest would be to have a very rigorous evaluation system in which we can try to pick. Science is hard, Maria, because you're a scientist, and it takes long. And this process is already potentially, even as fast as we want to go, you want to actually try to get to the most potential project, the projects that have the most potential. And that's what we want to, we're doing for now. In the future, we hope to be able to evaluate other projects that don't necessarily have to become therapeutics or that have translational opportunities. But for now, this is like our sole focus, to get to something that is translational as fast as possible. Thank you for the question. It is a good question because I think a lot of people wonder how the BioDAOs work in terms of being able to gauge the science and getting to those projects that get funded. Thanks. Well, again, thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to seeing your presentation, Maria, and I hope that more women join the decentralized science movement. And I hope that more men join Athena DAO as well. And continue having a great conference, and congratulations to the team. It's a lot of work to put these events together. So looking forward to the next one.
how to put my okay. Thank you for having me. So I will start with a particular experience of a scientific research. In 2019, I discovered ordered semigroup actions and ordered semi-category reactions. This may sound, it's weird that I'm the first person who discovered these three-word concepts, but I discovered them in that year. So it is a very important for entire science. For example, for study of complex systems, for physics, for engineering, for economics, I'm sure it will find application everywhere. I also discovered discontinuous analysis based on this, but trying to publish it, I did some mistakes. I lost access to academia grant money because I was by religious discrimination expelled from a university. So I am amateur without, despite I studied math for more than 4 years. So we lost most of the future science because almost all future science depends on it. We need to publish orders in group actions. Now I will explain my idea how I'm going to help this practice. Share screen. Where is it? I think I forgot to start it. Sorry. Ah, I understand what's wrong. So see my presentation. What is it? Oh, so you see my screen, yes? Salary science. I want to build Gitcoin for science, like Gitcoin but for science, using scientific grants on micropayments. Micropayments are given by Definity Internet Computer Blockchain. We have the science in that. I already said this. Many scientists have no money resources to publish their excellent work in prestigious venue. So my work was not published in peer review at all. I was unable to put it in peer review because of silly reasons. We need money for scientific publication. Or I already thought about this. So solution: we need Gitcoin for science. We need to modify the idea of Gitcoin to be used for science, for scientific grants. Second, need to support namely basic science because applications can support themselves using usual business models. Who of you knows that point 3 fan coins are super important? So how would I receive enough donations if I put this research into a competition of funding? Almost nobody knows. So the conclusion is that we need to allocate a part of donations to cited work. When somebody makes a donation, a part of the donation should be automatically allocated for cited work. Also, we need a mandatory affiliate program. Even if some scientist decides not to publish his work widely, it should be published widely, despite of his will, using affiliate program for publication. This describes the details how it works. I think it's not very interesting now. The project is in planning stage and needs your donations, your links to my site, etc. It is done on Trinity Internet Computer Blockchain, as I already said, a truly cost-efficient blockchain, enough cheap to store project dependencies. So my slides are over. Or I'm stop sharing. Or another idea is to use prediction markets. I'm not sure that you know what is it. To what it is to give scientists money for their future performance of their works. So your comments, your questions, please. Everybody is silent. Do I explain it in an understandable way? Did I explain it in an understandable way? I see no questions. I also created a DAO for this project and a related project about software for science. Uh, but it now has two members, me and one man that I got into voting in it. The tremendous importance of this is that just one mispublished article, however, 500 pages text, made the entire science stuck. It's just a catastrophe. Catastrophe. I think we finished. I forgot to share my URL. This is the project URL in the chat. I built a fully decentralized system for this. A fully decentralized system for retrieving dependencies from servers like Semantic Scholar for scientific articles, or sites like Crates.io for software packages. Except of the basic science is very beneficial for software components that are unknown by the same receive little donations sometimes by the same reason why basic science receive little donations. Nobody knows that they need it. We need it, but we don't know. What happens? I finished. I want to hear your stage, Maggie. Okay, while nobody started after me, I'm still talking, but at any time feel free interrupt me and start another discussion because I just finished the post in the conversation. So, for example, if I put my ordered semicolon actions or ordered semi-category actions research on this Gitcoin for Science, that's a Salaries side project, but don't advertise it, or, or either because I have no advertisement talent or because I don't want it to be known, but it's already on the site. Then sounds for the mandatory affiliate program. Anybody can become a marketer if he has marketing skills and advertise my work instead of myself. So it solves the problem that science and marketing skills are often disjointed. Because nobody speaks, I keep in speak, but take into account that you can interrupt me at any moment and start next presentation. So I'm presenting it again. Should I stop? So we have this system of decentralized downloading from sites like GitHub, Resuelto, PyPI, Semantic Scholar, decentralized downloading and verification of servers that download dependencies between packages or between articles, scientific manuscripts. Servers they check each other. If it's voted by most servers, we can disqualify a server, throw it out of the system, and find it to zero money received. The well-behaving servers will remain, and each one will receive a part of server's rewards. It's done by canister on definitely their computer to have a kind of smart contract to which donors donate funds and authors withdraw money. It is done by using that an author is warned by email, for instance, in advance that he is accepted into the system and he might provide, for example, his Ethereum address to receive money. If he wants to receive money, he receives. If he if he don't want, or then the money, all money go to the dependencies to site works. I'm repeating that I don't need to keep speaking. You can at any moment interrupt me and start the next stage. I'm just feeling the pause. How much orders in group actions are important is can be compared by importance with group theory. Group theory is studied in every university in the world and received so this way it's due due respect. I'm sure that my discovery of ordered semi-category and semi-group actions should receive the same respect, but now nobody is researching on it as far as I know. This is very sad. Maria, why don't you start speaking? I see you. I don't see slides, I see you. I see your slides, but they are not on stage. It's a small rectangle in the top, at the bottom right angle of the screen, corner of the screen. Some slides violet color. I'm stuck. No. Sharing screen is requested. Should I know share screen or cancel? I'm not sure if I will click share screen to be sure, and maybe I can cancel. No, it's my screen, not yours. So cancel. Press cancel. Group theory is the foundation of most of the existing economy, I think. So this place should be analogous frame should be given to my theory, I think. But now it's just unpublished in peer review at all. It's published, self-published on internet. And I found no way to publish in peer review for silly reasons, like that it's too long, like that I, for silly reasons, can't publish it by parts. I just made some publishing, not mathematical publishing errors, mistakes. And this led to a dead end. I published it in a Russian site that has only Russian interface for downloading papers. So, and now I understand that they can republish it on another site. Scientific ethics should be changed. So now scientific ethics make the impossible a publication. It's a silly tradition that not better than some silly tradition that needs to be changed. To change it, I think we need to allocate money for another behavior of people than the tradition. So my project is operating with cryptocurrency. with recurrencies. Not operated will operate. It's just in coding stage. I almost didn't start to write the actual code, but I described in English its algorithm, I think, completely, without many some details, but like how to decide order of showing the or showing the project on the site, etc. But sorry, running notes. Uh, I also developed NextDB and NextDB order, two libraries for a database that allows on thinking computer canisters to publish big databases of ordered items like order of grants in the shows of the grants. I used it for another commercial project. Sadly, I'm now work for full time on a commercial project, not this project. I hope I will get some money and maybe interrupt the commercial project and do this thing, this non-profit impact our project. But now it's hard because because religious discrimination expelled me from a university. I don't have a scientific degree and can't get any scientific grants. There is zero scientific grants, at least for mathematicians or without degrees. I browsed all the internet, I'm joking, of course, and found nothing like this. It's, by the way, a continued discrimination. Our discrimination is by Russian religious, so to say, policy, not official policy, de facto policy. But now universities continue with discrimination by not giving me grants because I was discriminated. I tried to call a Russian to write to a Russian court, but all of a sudden they didn't reply to my request at all. This is a great violation of a law that a court does not reply to a plea to a lawsuit, but it's so. I'm now in Israel. I try to apply to Russian court at distance from Israel. So a family conflict, my conflict with my mother eliminated most of the future science. So in Russia, there is animation film uh, about goblins, home goblins, and one home goblin in the movie, in the animation movie, had a very not sorry, not very lasting, not very strong, not very solid house. It was enough to I will turn on the camera. It was enough to touch the home of the goblin, and it started to fall. So world science is this home of a goblin. Just as family conflict, me and my mother, and entire world science disappears. Entire future science disappears. Say that the most of the future science is to be founded on order significant reactions. I think more than half of the future science should be built on this. It's weird that I discovered in 2019 because it looks like a very obvious idea. But my internet search showed no such results in the past, except of one very old article where this was introduced with an error, maybe from 1940 year article, but there it was with an error, so not applicable. It's, I say that I just feel, I just feel. Yes, I just feel the post. So at any moment, how to step out? There is some button for step out or no? I don't see any button to step out. I don't understand where. No, I don't understand how to step out. I don't see the button. Okay, bye. Sorry, I'm open it again. I'm again on stage. Or should I leave at all and then browse?
Is it working now? Yes, you can hear me, but can you see my slides? How about now? Yeah, I'm screen sharing. Can you see it now? It says, can you see it? All right. So I'm going to do it. I cannot see myself, but okay, I'll just go. Huh? Yes. Can I start? Oh, great. Yes. Okay, great, great. Uh, so, hello, everybody. I'm Maria Goreti Freitas. I'm calling from São Paulo, Brazil today. Do you know when sometimes you are in a play, you're in a game, and you do not know the rules until the rules start rolling and you start seeing what is going on? Sometimes you play this game the whole life and you still do not know what's happening. um, but you know one thing for sure, if you have ever tried to publish a paper, you came across this square here, and I'm going to read for you. And says, I, the author, by signing this form hereby, assign worldwide copyright of the work in all forms and media, whether now known or hereafter developed, in all languages for the full term of copyright and all extensions and renewals thereof. Now I ask you, why would you check this square? Why? In a society that give you your copyright for all your text, for whatever intellectual property you produce for your whole life plus 70 years. Why would you check this box? And why keeping your copyright even a dilemma for you? And I'm going to tell you that we scientists, we do that in the name of the H index, the impact factor, and prestige. Yes. And I'm going to ask you another question here. Knowing that Katy Perry sold her music catalog for $225 million, a couple of months ago. And do you know what? She did that because it was hers. She owned her music catalog. And while musicians and book authors have their copyrights from 10 to 90%, as shown here, do you know the percentage that scientists keep for themselves of their copyright? I'm going to tell you it's 0%, nothing. And people would say, things are like that. This is the way we play this game. And I have this slide here that show us luggages that we used to have until the 1970s. Guys, do you know that we humans put our foot on moon before our luggages had wheels? It's right. It's just, unbelievable. We keep doing things just because this is the way they are. But for scientific publication, this is a big thing. The scientific publication industry is as big as the music industry and generates $26 billion per year. It is as big as the music industry, bigger than the cinema industry. I have references here. I'm a scientist. The story is that we scientists, we have an idea, we go after for funds, then we find the right lab to conduct our experiments. We have results, and we want the people to know. We want to publish. Then we go after a certain journal. We upload our manuscripts. It can take hours. It can take days. Some journals, they want signatures from our directors. Then we go through peer review, and when we have our green light, we pay, and we have our paper published. The pain is that this whole process is conducted by us and scientists, and we don't get paid a dime. Peer review editors and reviewers don't get paid, and this is the majority of the 50,000 journals that exist. We pay for publish, and we pay for open access. This means when people want to read our papers, they will have to pay like $50 for downloading a PDF. Moreover, our copyright is gone. So this led to growing dissatisfaction everywhere. Here in Brazil, in Europe, in America, science is done everywhere the same way. And we imagine a new future for science. We call ourselves DeSciers. We are creators of decentralized science with a new form of publishing science that is affordable, supportive, your own. A community formed by highly qualified talents to collaborate on editorial work for publishing scientific papers and funding to support your work. We are launching the DeSci journal. Easy, affordable, using Web3 technologies, collaborative, and provide funding for your work with 100% copyright guarantee for yourself. Here, you are able to upload your manuscript, go through peer review, and with a submission fee that's 10 times less than the $2,000 usually asked for traditional journals, we will share the submission fees among editors, reviewers, designers, everybody who work on the editorial work for having your paper published. And then you can sell your paper. It's yours. It doesn't belong to the journal anymore. You can auction or you can leave in the journal, even open access. It's your decision. After all, the paper is yours. It's your intellectual property. So we came up with a pizza sharing, like we call it, where everybody has a slice of the submission fees. Editors and reviewers have the most. We are on beta, already accepting some submissions to test our platform. This is the way it's going to look. We also have a platform for registering on blockchain your documents, your images, your protocols. These are the milestones of our initiative. We started in September 2022. Went through Gitcoin after Shadi Eldamati had a message for us saying, you have to go through this crowdfunding. We did, and we're very happy because it was with the money that we collected from you, the community, that we are able to build and design our platform. We have done some events here in Brazil for the University of São Paulo. That's the biggest university here in Brazil. Also in Unicamp. We went to Próspera, a new jurisdiction that is being built here in Honduras, in Central America, a jurisdiction where we innovators can prosper. And this name is a very suitable one, Próspera. And this is the market that we are targeting, 3.5 million submissions per year. I can go through that in more detail if you want. This is our Genesis team. It's me and Danilo. We are the co-leaders of DeSci. We have Danielle, Andres, and we have wonderful advisors, Caroline, Thiago, Shadi Aldamati, Francisco, and Leandro. We work in an environment of a collaborative work in a shared economy. Please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to discuss with you this initiative and collaborate with your project. Thank you very much. So if there are any questions. I think we're done. Huh? Thanks, Max. I think you're next. Looking forward to hear you. I'm sorry it took so long for you to come to the stage.
Cool. So can you guys hear me? So the intro music just kind of stops after a while. Can you see my screen, the shared screen? Now you can. Sweet. All right. And if I do that, does that move the slides? Can you see it now? Do the slides move? Cool. So I'll go very quickly. I really wanted to talk about my experiences in sharing decentralized science ideas with the wider scientific community. So I discovered decentralized science a couple of years ago. I write part-time for Cointelegraph, so I wrote an article about decentralized science in April of 2022. And as a result, I got to meet lots of people in the decentralized science community, which I think is kind of a special community in crypto. And basically, I was doing a lot of research at the RMIT Blockchain Innovation Hub, which is in Melbourne, Australia. I'm dialing in from Sydney, Australia. So it's quite early in the morning here. I had to wake up in the night for this presentation, which is obviously a display of commitment to the decentralized science community. But basically, I did a report on DAOs, and it sort of spiraled into this thing where I ended up in an incubator for Australia's National Science Authority. So the point of my presentation is really just to explain, because we had an event actually in Sydney yesterday for all the alumni of the program, what that looks like. But before I begin, I just want to say it's also the first day of Hanukkah today, which is a Jewish holiday where there's a lighting of the candles that should bring light into the world. And I hope that the hostages that were captured by Hamas should be speedily returned to their families. So I just want to mention that. I think it's very important at this point in history. So I basically wrote a report on DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, at the university, and the university basically offered me a grant and said, can we build this into an actual project, right? So Maria might appreciate this. I had this idea for a long time of an intellectual property repository for like early stage research and what that would look like. So that's how it really began. But what I want to share in my slides is my final presentation that I gave to this incubator for Australia's national science body, which really tries to translate research from universities into commercial products. That's the premise of the incubator. So this is not this slide now, but the next slide. This is what I came up with. So an untapped opportunity. 90% of research is not publicly accessible, yet the Australian government invests $10 billion in R&D each year. So that was really the problem set up, that every single person in that room, every single person in the wider science community understands this problem, right? Research sits on a shelf, it doesn't go anywhere. And it's like Maria mentioned, but basically funding grants are there. They're provided often by governments, and the spend on it is completely inefficient, and it's not really accessible. So there's no value to a national economy for any of that work. So that's kind of the problem. Everyone gets the problem. Now, I'll come to my lessons at the end for the community, but the point is that the scientific community understands these problems. No one disputes the problems of decentralized science. Everyone completely understands the movement. And then I talked about my idea as a repository. So what I realized is that the issue was actually giving researchers trust. So forked IP DAO, the idea was safe feedback for early discoveries without risking patents. So the idea of decentralized science, the idea of early stage research going into a blockchain-based solution, right? What bothered people, and in the presentation I barely mentioned the concept of a DAO, was really this idea that how do we trust the system? How do we trust blockchain? How do we trust the crypto community? How do we trust these people? Who are these people? That was really the kind of way that this research emerged throughout the project. So what actually happened is I only talked about blockchain, and most people, even last night I had these conversations, most people in the scientific community are like, oh, blockchain, enterprise blockchain is still the same thing. Enterprise blockchain is fine. Don't mention crypto. Crypto is scary. Monetization, tokenization, this kind of thing is very scary for researchers. but it's also scary for the commercialization community because they feel that, basically all the negative stereotypes have at least if it's not obvious to them or palpable for them, it's at least a little bit of a grey area. They're like, oh, I don't really get it. It's in the too hard basket. So the idea that I came to with this project, which is still going, but it's not. This presentation is not about my project. It was really this idea that patent protection is important. So this project became nothing to do with crypto, nothing to do with blockchain. It became a legal question. So how do researchers disclose information without voiding a future patent? That's what they were scared about. The idea of a DAO, the only time I actually mentioned in the presentation was in point 2, a rules-based and voting governance mechanism, right? So the only reason we could kind of work it out as a concept was if everyone in the scientific community, everyone as part of the stakeholder, mapping, would actually have a vote and a way that they can feel like their governance is heard. But some of the other things that we seem to hit on was speed of recognizing commercial potential. With a blockchain-based system, the way that the IP could be deposited was appealing to people, and others have validated this idea. Investors include Pfizer. So when I talked about that was VitaDAO. Now, some people in the community say VitaDAO is sort of the benchmark, but there's to get a lot of attention. But the point is, one thing that resonated with the scientific community is when I mentioned VitaDAO, it was like, these guys are doing it. These guys have Pfizer backing them. Immediately, people were like, oh, okay, hang on, wait, this isn't just a theoretical concept. This is happening already. Decentralized science is happening already. That was a really powerful marker. And I promise you, a lot of people in the scientific community, that was their turning point when they started to listen to me more, was when they were like, okay, someone's actually done this. It's not just like some theoretical thing. That's what happened in the incubator. The incubator is basically go out and find your market. So I did all these hours. I went through all these hypotheses. I spoke with all these different people. Some of these people were crypto people, but most of these people are not crypto people. This is me talking to people in the scientific community to understand what they want, what they're looking for. And what I found was the issue wasn't with blockchain. The issue was with protecting their research, protecting their work, protecting their ideas. The idea of royalties or something like that, if you think about IP NFTs or something like that, was palatable to them. But you can see that's how this project took place, and it was a really interesting kind of piece of research for the decentralized science community, at least in Australia. Interview insights, so framework for early IP discovery, key to unlocking commercial potential. So the idea of this is trying to expedite research using blockchain. That was what I came up with. Need for stakeholder collaboration. So people would feel comfortable sharing their research with the decentralized science community, but only if there was this stakeholder collaboration in setting up the standards for depositing that IP. So it really has to bring everyone in together. And that also includes lawyers and VCs who might invest in projects, which may be specialist deep tech VCs. And 3, focus on facilitating early stage disclosures that don't void patents. That was really my major insight that came from the incubator was, again, I've said it a few times, but everyone just does all this research. It's not even that they want to commercialize it themselves. Most professors don't want to leave their cushy jobs in a university. Everyone knows that. But the reality is they want to be acknowledged for the research they've done. They want their peers to understand. It's sort of like peer review isn't even about getting published. It's just about your colleagues in your area, so niche of 12 people in the world working on something, know that you've done that, right? So that was some of the things that were the next steps, which isn't necessarily relevant now, but that was this was my final presentation on stage in front of the community. That was the team that I worked with. So one is myself. I'm a lawyer by trade. I did a PhD, was around AI when I discovered blockchain. Spent time in private equity. I had a blockchain coder as part of my team, an IP lawyer, and one really important piece of the team was a university commercialization expert from one of the best universities in Australia for commercialization, certainly the best university in Australia for startups. And he was very valuable. He is very valuable in just talking about the problems that commercialization departments face. Yeah, that's it. There's a website that we set up at the time, which sort of talks about basically the problems of these issues. But this is my last slide, which isn't part of the presentation, but it's really the lessons for the decentralized science community on trying to translate a DeSci idea to the wider science community. The first point is that even PhDs don't get blockchain. So I definitely didn't mention DAOs to anyone because people get stuck at blockchain. So in this community, you're talking about people working in chemistry, working with polymers, working with renewable energies, working with solar panels, all kinds of things that people think is a product that can be commercialized, that have some kind of commercial nous. They have, PhDs in all kinds of things, physics, chemistry. They still don't get blockchain. We forget sometimes as a community how little people understand about our space. It's such a niche space. Like I spend all my time in crypto, almost every day. Everything I do has some connection to crypto. And we forget people do not understand it. So I would go through a high level pitch explaining my idea, and people would go, hang on. And this is really smart people, top of their field in chemistry, would say, hang on, go back to the start. What is blockchain? Just explain to me what is blockchain. And that's how many conversations start. Two is probably not so much an issue that crypto is a scam or crypto is volatile. FTX was a really bad marker for the industry. It was a bit of a stain on the industry for everyone. You can't ignore this point when you're trying to deal with the scientific community. They, especially if they're career academics doing deep research, they are very, very conservative. But three is the powerful point for the community. Everyone gets decentralized science. It's not that they understand decentralized science, but they understand the problems with academia, right? The problems that Maria just talked about, everyone gets it, right? I mean, when I did my PhD, my examiner basically told me I needed to cite him. One of my examiners told me I needed to cite him in my research. I've worked with academics who tried to steal my papers as a postdoc. I mean, this stuff is just crazy. The whole industry is completely, everyone knows it. Like you can have this conversation with everyone, they get it. Everyone gets the problems. Again, VitaDAO is a really strong reference point, number 4. It's just a way to say this is being done already. Again, like I said, it's not theoretical. And the final point of my presentation is what I found is that a lot of people working through the incubator with me, including the mentors who are very savvy people who have operated multiple companies in multiple fields, what they do is look for commercial opportunities. They're not locked to any one industry or market segment. One of them in particular told me after the final presentation I just gave, which obviously I didn't really explain it in the way that I did on the stage. He said, I get it. I finally get what you're trying to do. And everyone loves this idea of trying to bring research into a more open and free environment. But it takes people a while to actually get it. So yeah, that's basically my presentation. I'll stop sharing. I think it's just important. This is a communication thing. So I work part of my time as a journalist and a writer. It's really just trying to make sure your ideas are simple, that you have a hook, that you have a call to action. And I think the best part about decentralized science is that people get the call to action. The worst part about decentralized science is that people don't understand blockchain to start with. And the biggest problem that everyone needs to be aware of is that people don't trust us. They don't trust the crypto community. They don't trust the blockchain community. They just don't know why they need it. So when you're communicating your messages as to why your startup is a good idea or why your project is a good idea, you need to make sure that, and I don't mean this in any patronizing way, but you have to start at the beginning and you have to hold people's hand and take them on a journey, right? Because leadership isn't about saying, I've got the best idea in the world. Leadership is about holding someone's hand and taking them with you on that journey. And that's my lessons from this. I don't know where all my research and work will end up. I don't know if it's going to be a viable project or a commercially viable project, but I'm certainly pursuing it. And I'm looking to register the DAO shortly and then play around with its permutations, incubating some of these ideas that I've learned from dealing with the wider community. And the main point to finish with my presentation is just that Australia's scientific body, CSIRO, which is a pretty good organisation, I think. I don't say that parochially. Australia punches above its weight in some things. Australia is also a very small country. It's built off the back of many international students and PhDs that have a desire to change the world. But they were very supportive of this. I was the first crypto project to go through the incubator. There was goodwill towards the project, and again, the goodwill starts with people getting the problems of academia. So thanks a lot, and I hope this was valuable for the community in terms of maybe you know all of this already, but if you don't, just thinking about how you position your messaging. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
They pay like
Yeah.
$10,000 for a paper. It's the same for us. I'm in the public health area, and $10,000 in Brazilian money, it's the price of a car.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
I mean,
understand.
not so popular car, but and why do you? How can? What are your thoughts about prestige in
Yeah.
this?
So if you saw my slides that I conducted so many interviews, that was based on like just asking the questions and saying, what do you think about this? I mean, the way it was structured was not me trying to tease the answers out, but their views. And I honestly found a lot of professors just care about their position in peer review. That's all they care about. They're not going to leave their job at the university when they have tenure to go and start a startup. They don't want to do that. But it's so strange when you think about the profession, right? Like I've lost interest in it because of peer review. Like, so 12 people in the world who have your niche read your work. Do you know what I mean? Like, or maximum a few hundred, a few thousand people are reading your work. And oftentimes they're just retrofitting a theory to what they've done already. Now, not hard science, because hard science is very mathematically verified. I worked in a business school, right? So it's a bit different. But yeah, it's absolutely true that peer review was important to them. And if you could have, so people talk about, token bound accounts or soul bound tokens or that kind of thing. I think that is part of the future metrics of this, because academics, at least in some way, want a verifiable thing to say, I invented this. The world needs to know that this is my research. And they care about that more than any monetary reward in a lot of cases. I swear, my interviews validated that. That's what all they care about, is their peers saying that they're top of their field. And that's not everyone, but that's, professors at a certain level that they've made it to that level. They at least want to prove that people respect their work.
Thank you.
It's very strange. I get the question. It's a good question, because it is. The industry is strange. Like, if you could start a company that changed the world and solved cancer, I prefer to do that than like have a peer-reviewed article. But I mean, it's a part of the journey. I mean, there's a bit of both. Some instances you can do both, but it's open source communities in computing understand this much more intimately than other communities that are gated, right? So if you have to pay $10,000 US to publish in a journal, which is ridiculous, and I think it's ridiculous, that makes it a gated community. So only certain universities in the world, which we know now, just because your name's Harvard doesn't mean anything. It just means that you've got a legacy. That's all it means. And they're actually not the greatest universities in the world by any means. But if you're coming from the developing world, you don't have the same opportunities. And I think this is one of the greatest problems in the world, right? I've got a friend who calls it the ovarian lottery, and I'll finish on this point. But if you're born, in Mumbai, you didn't choose that, right? That doesn't mean your educational opportunities are going to be the same as someone who was born in New York or whatever. So we're losing human potential and human capital. That's why decentralized science is exciting. That's why crypto is exciting if we get it right. But getting it right is hard.
That's a good point. Great.
Yeah, I'm pretty much done. So Nishant, I think I'll hand over to you, and onwards and forwards.
Your voice is cutting, Nishant.
Let's just see this. Sorry. Do you see my screen now? Publish or Paris? Do you see my screen or not?
Yeah, it's coming. I think this is Max, isn't it?
Yeah, still my backdrop.
Okay. So if you if you just unshare, then perhaps
Am I still sharing though?
could be
I'm not sharing. No, there you go.
your screen. Yeah. Chrome
It has a
tab.
lag.
Just a sec. Yeah. Cool.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Go. Do you see my screen now?
Yes, Nishant.
All right, guys. Very excited to be discussing this with you. So in my I would say memory, I think about some of the technologies which I have seen, and every time I got excited, I went and tried it myself, and then something happened. So these technologies like maker movement or VR AR, I still remember Sergey presenting, and so much being written about media. IoT, in fact, I was part of it. I even consulted with Intel when I was working, and of course I owned the devices. Then of course voice enabled devices. There was a period when people were making apps for Amazon and Alexa, and there was Uber and and everything, more and more things being connected, and a lot of startups got big funding. And of course, during COVID, we saw Clubhouse and a bunch of other, voice-enabled social platforms. And since I have closely worked with DAOs, because my company Lomads makes tooling for DAOs for financial and operations management, so I have seen the, ups and downs there. So I often ask this question. I mean, like, yeah, first of all, in all these cases, when things come in, it's everybody is very, very sure. And so the question that I ask is, what happened around these times? These technologies around the time when these guys became popular, and what is happening now with these technologies and movements. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on these questions, if you have any. Max, Maria, do you have anything? Like, just do you remember some of these things that I spoke about, or I mean, just
Yeah,
curious.
I am just going to quote you, saying that we are overconfident and say, wow, this is it. We've reached the top, and then we moved on. Just like with the AI today, in the morning I was in an AI event.
Mhm. Max, do you have any thoughts? Do you remember like which of these technologies you really thought, wow, man, this is gonna be game changer?
I think people thought VR was very exciting. IoT had so much buzz about it. IoT is basically nothing. I mean, I think it's just sensor technology. Basically, I think people roll technology into things. Like AI became really sexy the last year with ChatGPT, and I feel like AI is just part of everything. So if you go to a VC and you say, "Oh, I've got AI in this," that was a point where there was like a big deal. Now it's like, well, if you don't have AI in it and it's not inbuilt, then it's irrelevant.
Yeah, because around the time when IoT came, there was prediction that by 2020 there will be 50 billion devices, and before Google came into it, there were Nest and so many startups, and they were building infrastructure for it, and like interoperability was a big thing, and I just really closely followed this, mapping the landscape. So my thesis is that there is nothing wrong with these technologies, and they are very, very potent technologies, and they do change our lives, but at a different pace. So there is a hype around it when we kind of come to expect so much more than it can deliver in a specific time frame. So they stay, and then development is happening, and this is something I thought happens again and again. So there is this emergence, that narrative for the next disruption emerges, and analysts will immediately publish glowing future predictions about it. Then it goes into the amplification phase, where there's the surge in the coverage by media and at conferences. People start talking about it, and then the most important things, VCs fund. And when VCs fund, they always have exponential expectations about the growth, and that's how people like to present, and that's the whole point of venture capital funding. And this just goes on till after, let's say, 1 or 2 years, you have the reckoning, which is user adoption, retention, fails to meet expectations, and interest wanes, and something next comes up. So the technology stays. In every cycle such as this, there are often, a handful of, people standing, or big corporations taking over, and they continue to, build it. As you see in case of smartwatch, Fitbit is gone, and so many other smartwatches, startups and Kickstarter projects which came, they are like either very small, or they are almost eradicated, and some big guys are standing. Similarly, in IoT, Google took over Nest, and there are still applications in agriculture, and in warehouses and stuff, but it's not sexy, or you see lots of things being written about it. So the question is, yeah. So I mean, like, since I closely worked with DAOs, and I don't know, like, Maria and Max, like, did you guys follow DAOs like over the past 1.5 year? I mean, of course, Maria, you're part of Vita DAO, I suppose, right? But then, did you generally?
Yeah, well, Nishant, yeah, before we named ourselves DeSci, we were a side DAO, and we are still grouped as a community, as a DAO. So we are following these and testing all the tools that the DAOs have to offer.
But do you know, like, there is another conference almost running, in this week, called DAOcember, and one of the topics is like DAO's beginning, death, and resurrection. Very, very interesting topic. And and if you talk to any of the tooling, they would say that it's the market is very slow right now. The number of DAOs, new DAOs which are coming in, is very few. Is actually very few. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, like what was happening. Otherwise, I have, of course, some pointers here. Like what was possibly wrong with the way we DAO'd, over the past 1.5 years, let's say.
So I have a lot of thoughts on this. Sorry, my son just woke up. So I think I think people were using DAOs for absolutely everything, and none of them made sense. I think DAOs only work in a certain capacity. That's one of the biggest problems, is that people just try to make
Everything a DAO, right? Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts? So I'll tell you, like, the things that I kind of thought are, it felt that they were trying. Most people are trying to reinvent the wheel. Come up with coin new terms, not look at what we already see in different kinds of experiments, social experiments, democratic experiments that happened before us. Technology was the front center, and we thought that we'll have a completely new nomenclature and completely new ways of doing this. So that's one of the things. Then chasing the perfect DAO mirage. If you listen to the talks around DAO in 2001 second half, or like 2021, I mean, you would see that people often explain the term decentralized autonomous organization. So everybody is just emphasizing that there is this perfect definition of DAO, and sort of our ultimate goal is to become that. That's like sort of that was the I would say the underlying, it seemed that intent. And then I would say that blinded by vision, and it's just the vision is this is the vision, and everything would be decentralized, and there would be no conflicts. The smart contracts will be the ultimate arbitrator of like value exchange. So it's and then and it's absolutely disconnected with often reality. So if I talk about the chasing the perfect DAO mirage, so what I found out that there is a whole spectrum. There's all kinds of DAOs. First of all, different goals. Whether you are a associative DAO, which means you are running an association, or you are a generative DAO, with the intent to generate something, or you are an ad hoc DAO. Whether you are early stage, where you are like it's almost like where you are an infant or a teenager or a adult, or like an older DAO. So the needs are very different. And maybe you don't want to become completely decentralized or completely autonomous. Maybe that use case just fits DeFi. So I mean, like, instead of DAOs, I mean, I often tend to talk about decentralized collaboration. So like, okay, people are spread out, there is no fixed very prescriptive hard structure. So yeah, I mean, like, that was one of the things that people thought, that there is a perfect DAO, and you just fit into it, or you just go home, and don't call yourself DAO, sort of that. And of course, complexity, and usability. There would be so much discussions around complex forms of governance, or like, everything has to be on chain. If it's not on chain, it does not mean anything. Or even about tokenomics. And it drove a lot of people away, because people often confuse that the discussions which were about very mature DAOs, I mean, they didn't hold true for a lot of early stage DAOs, but I mean, like, it just felt that the discussions around DAO were that, and it drove people away from DAOs. So that was, these are some of the things I thought, which I observed, really turned people off, and of course the problem of account abstraction, that like, the whole thing about having a wallet, and having different kinds of interfaces which does not connect seamlessly with our social channels, anyways, causes hindrance. So these were some of the things. So now, I mean, like, with this in background, if you think about it, in DeSci also, perhaps you might see, in some form or the other, some of these things happening, like, this is the perfect or ideal DeSci state, or, like, or everything, in terms of organization that we are doing should be new, and stuff like that. So that's the question that we ask is, imagine it's 2 years from now and DeSci has not met its goal. Okay. What could be the potential reasons for its failure? And this is the most important question we want to answer today, because if we acknowledge that some of the problems that we see today in the industry, in the domain, then perhaps we can fix them. And I would like to know your thoughts about these. Yes.
And yeah, I resonate with you with a lot of things, like, we had, as humans before, group together, like in associations and societies, you know. But again, maybe to try to show to others and to yourself that you are creating something new. Maybe you need also new languages, new terms, a little bit different from what you've done before, hopefully better, enhanced, but it's still, maybe we need this new terminology.
I mean, terminology is one aspect. I mean, do you see any problem with the way tooling is approached, or or the fact that we don't take into account how the incumbents will react, because when you are making something which is going to disrupt the existing models, then we also should think about how those people are going to react, right? So I just want to know if you have any thoughts on that. So that one is this, and the other one is around tooling and how we approach tool design today.
Well, I think a part of the disruption is knowing what you're disrupting, but don't caring too much, because you're disrupting for a reason. You're trying to make things better for people. And tooling, yeah, well, it's new, and you have to learn new things. Don't think there is a way to deal with digital assets, including digital currencies, without opening a wallet, without knowing how to open a wallet, knowing how to receive funds going back. This is new um, learning. And when the banks also turn into digital, you had to learn, isn't it? All our parents and grandparents, they had to learn how to get money from an ATM. I don't know um, if you remember this, or if you're around. You look very young for those things, but so we living. It's a process of learning. Okay, so if you don't want to learn, oh, and you're already gone. There is this Greek philosopher Heraclitus. He says the only constant is change. So this guy is 500 before Christ. So he was right. He still is.
No, definitely, what you say does make sense. People have to learn, and things do change. Um, yeah, but this is more about coming back to the mistakes that we make in technology again and again. Get super optimistic about anything, tend to think in one scenario. There can be multiple scenarios. That's one of the things that and another scenario is that DeSci just fizzles off, and publishing companies kind
Yeah.
of they take over. Or for example, big pharmaceutical companies invest indirectly into the projects. So things can happen, right? So one of the things that perhaps people who are leading from the front, they can do is have a scenario mindset that what are the other possible outcomes. And why I say this, because I had an interesting exercise which I used to do with bigger companies. Let's say if I'm working for a bigger client, an appliances business. So if I'm doing a strategy workshop, then one exercise is that imagine there is a startup which is going to disrupt your business. So the managers, the top management will imagine a startup or multiple startups which can disrupt their business. Okay, so they're coming up with those ideas, and now they will work backwards on, okay, so now if that startup is coming, then what can we do, right, in order for that future to not happen. So my point here is that we should have scenario mindset as opposed to just overly optimistic mindset that it's going to come and have it. The second one is, which I see from the DAO, is embrace evangelism, but balance it with self-critique. So if sometimes we feel reservations about calling out any mistakes with our own domain, right? If you're working in DeSci, maybe you do not want to call out something which is unpleasant or something which is not happening correctly. You think maybe your peers will not take it the right way. So I think that evangelism is definitely important for user adoption, for making inroads into new territories. But I think internally, to do better, I think self-critique is also important, and we should be open to accepting that. The other thing, as I was talking about DAOs, is that we did not segment well, and tools tried to be everything for everybody, but there is no everybody. If you try to make everybody happy, you will end up making nobody happy. So segmentation is the key here. And like when we talk about DeSci, so there are different domains. Like today, pharmaceutical is one domain which is being disrupted the most, and so acknowledging that these are the segments which will get which are low hanging fruits and which can be disrupted first, as opposed to going for something which is much more difficult. So segmentation, or what kind of universities you can onboard easily, just wherever we are going, being able to slice it thin and seeing the different, like how one segment is different than another, will have help us conquer the territory. And yeah, I would say that as you were saying, yes, we have to reinvent new term, but I think it's also very important to look back, because we stand at hundreds of years of how organizations works, or how democracies work, how knowledge grows, how knowledge is shared. So some of the fundamentals, they remain same, and it just needs to be adapted for the new reality. Like, acknowledge that it's coming from there. I think my video is getting poor. It's just shutting off. So yeah, so this is my uh, last thought here, that it's we should definitely not shy away from learning from what has happened before us, or what even happens in corporations, because this is an with DAOs that they completely people often just did not want to discuss the things that we have learned about formal power, informal power, best practices, efficiencies in organization. These were not the points of discussion in initial days. Only later, when reality started dawning, that you need a business model, you need to have a goal, and have methods to fairly share the value co-created, then such discussions came. So yeah, so I think I wanted it to be an interactive discussion with more participants, and especially those who are building for the future. But yeah, like I'll just summarize what we discussed today, is that like DeSci could be just any other technology that which shines for 2 years, and we speak at conferences, and and there is a huge bump in the social media discussions around it, and then it could be business as usual, and like a handful of projects are there here and there, because none of these technologies, they die. It's just that they go in the background, you know So the thing, the way to conquer is that for us to be more pragmatic, to be more realistic about customer segments, and yeah, and just call out any mistakes in the industry and not be overly enchanted by venture capitalists or reports which kind of exaggerate. So that's all, and thanks, guys. Okay.
Thanks a lot, Nishant. There are some thoughts
Yes,
that,
please.
there are some thoughts that they will be used by me as take-home messages. Thank you very much. Just think that maybe this is the way we do things. We cyclical and a very big hype and then down. Cyclical things. It's like you said. It doesn't mean that they completely disappear, but they went to the background. And I believe, like Max said before, people are scared about the blockchain. When you talk crypto, they say, "Oh God, it's a scam." And from 1 year from now, most financial system is gonna be using blockchain. We will never talk about that again. And maybe this is how it is. But I take dearly what you said, to be careful, and also to learn from the past and maybe use the best from the past. Always evolving, but always keeping in mind that this is we belong to a history line, and we can make better if we know the past. Thanks a lot, Nishant. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for summarizing that, Maria. Really enjoyed my time here, and have a good rest of the day, guys. Bye bye.